Hi, everyone. I hope you had a good break. Here we have Mario Novoselec with front-end creativity with web animations. A little known fact about him, he has a zoo at his house with 3 cats, 2 dogs, and a parrot. Let's welcome him.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you all for coming. You survived through a lunch and a break, so you expect a lot from this talk. And whoa. So I will talk about front-end creativity, and what will I talk about is I will give you some examples of how animations can be created, how are they created now. I will give you some overviews and some principles that you can use, and also I will give you some tools and some libraries that you can use to create those experiences for yourself. So who am I? Well, it's me, Mario. Sorry. And I am a front-end developer here in Zagreb in an agency called The Gordian, and we are working on projects for global clients such as Lufthansa, Allianz, and also for some local companies here. It's a thrilling experience to be there, so, okay. I was once watching a conference, I think it was a CSS Conf. I was watching it over YouTube, and I can remember a speaker there telling that you cannot have a talk about animations without mentioning this guy, and this is not Will Smith, this is Walt Disney, a guy who created some foundations for the animations long time ago, and those foundations are still used today, and we can learn a lot from them. So I will go through some of them. Those foundations are called 12 Basic Principles of Animation by Walt Disney, and I will not explain all of them. I will explain some of them that I find most useful, and I will show you some examples of how to use them today and how are they used. So first principle is called follow-through and overlapping action. What this principle basically gives us, it gives us the tools to orchestrate simultaneous movement. For instance, let's say you have a parent element, like some div, and you have a children. And you want to orchestrate that movement in a way that children follow through the motion of a parent. They are following what parent does. And overlapping action lets us use these tools, these principles in a way that we can understand that one animation does not start when the first one finishes. Their movement is overlapping. So let's take an example. This is a website that does not have any principles, it's just some navigation that shows and it fades, and it's okay, it works okay. But if we add this one little tiny principle here, we can create much more smoother experience. We're having the parent that dictates the movement, we are having the children that follows it, and the movement overlaps, and it's much more elegant. You can also use this principle for smaller hover items, not just for bigger elements, and you can add some more flavor and some more sugar to your website items. The next principle is called staging. Staging is a principle that we use if we want to exaggerate something and we want to point the user to these elements on the page. One example is a website called Photonaut. It's basically an agency that does photo shooting, and they're using staging to point the user to their core business. It's the camera. It's the tool that they use in everyday production of some digital photos and something like this. And also you can stage the user by just simply putting the content in a box and just use the tools, the lines, the tools, and to navigate the movement of the user eye. Well, easing, if you've done any of the animation, you have confronted easings. In nature, elements do not just start and stop. They have some time to accelerate and some time to stop. And also, we can use this in our websites with 2 basic easings. First one is ease in. The bottom green one is linear movement. It's just basic movement, robotic movement. And the top one is ease in. Ease in takes a longer time to start. but it stops more quickly. The opposite of ease in is ease out. Well, ease out just takes longer time to stop. And the rule of thumb is if you want an element to be, if you want the user to notice some element, you use the ease out curve. Because users tend to notice elements that take longer time to get out of the scene. This is one website that uses this a lot. You can see that bigger elements, like the central image, take longer to stop. They are pointing the user to watch this image. Watch it, it's here. And smaller elements like these subtitles use ease in because they are smaller, they have lower mass, lower dimensions, and they tend to slow down more quickly. Next is secondary action. Secondary action is similar to follow through, but here we know exactly what is primary animation and what is secondary animation. Good example is this website that uses secondary action to distinguish the movement of the title and the background image, because background image is the secondary animation, but together they form a really good user experience because user gets content instantly on one scroll. Also, the website called Lufthansa Dreamscapes has this little globe that goes down when you go to the other page. The primary animation here is this fade, but also this little navigation tool that you can use to navigate throughout the page. It's really important. It's a secondary tool in this secondary element in this animation, but together they make really good user experience. Well, this is the most important one. Timing is everything. With timing, you can give elements some dimension. You can give them width, height. With good timing, you can create a lot for your website. You can create the entire experience for your website if you've done timing right. First website that uses this, it's called Golden Center, and it uses the timing correctly to point out to this little pin where the location of the apartments are. With timing, this little pin has a dimension. It grows out, it pops out, and it's notified the user notifies it instantly. Next, this website is all about timing, about staging the elements out of the screen, and it's really smooth and it's really unique. The last principle I will talk about today is the anticipation. And the anticipation is something where you can use basic shapes, like, for instance, circles, squares, lines, etc., to create anticipation and to direct the user to expect something. For instance, this website uses basic circles, and users anticipate something. The circles are growing, they're becoming bigger, and they're leading the user into the main screen of the website. Okay, so we are now done with the animations, with the basic principles of animations. But what about the tools? How can we create this? Well, the first tool is TwinMax. And I really like TwinMax because it's a really popular library, and it's used by all major companies and agencies that does animations. And what you can do with TwinMax? Let's say you have this website. It has this gray border, and don't worry about the code. It will be on CodePen later. And you have these 5 black lines, for instance. This is one, but let's say you have 5 of them. And you want to show them. Show the animation of those lines, and before this finishes, you want to show this little white box. It just pops out on the screen. So, okay, how do you do this? Well, TwinMax is pretty simple tools. It has a method called Stagger 2, where you can just give him the type of the DOM object you want to animate. For instance, here is the ones with the class called line. You just type in the class you want to use. You also need some timing, some duration of the animation, and what properties you want to animate. Let's say we want to animate those lines from left to right. And also, we talked about easings. You can't create an animation without easing. Okay? And this is pretty boring. So we have to offset them a little to create that stagger through effect. Okay? And after that, we want to show this white box after this animation is finished. So we'll just use the to method of GZIP. The GZIP app is pretty simple. They're having the stagger to, stagger from to methods. And it's also always the same form of the functions. So you just give them the type of the element, duration, what you want to animate, and we want a little bounce effect, so we'll not use the default eases. We'll use this little bounciness, this little elastic effect, and we'll create a pretty neat experience. But we want to do this before the first animation finishes, so we have that overlapping action that we talked about, and we just type that in here, and it's a couple of lines of code. We created pretty neat animation. Okay, it has a lot of features. These are some of them. It is good performant, and it has a lot of browsers that they support. But also this is JavaScript animation, so if you use CSS and if you don't like JavaScript for animations, yeah. The next one is BarbaraJS. It's a pretty new kid on the block, and some of you did not heard of it, but we use it a lot. And it's not an animation framework. It's for between page transitions, and it works very good with other animation frameworks. So this is a website that uses it a lot. For instance, let's say we have a navigation, and we click on an element here, and we won't have a refresh. This is not a single page up. This is a standard website, but the user is flown into the second page. No blank screens, no refresh. It's simple and it's elegant. So this is PageAppDriven. It uses Ajax, and it supports all modern browsers like IE11. We also have possible problems here, because it's Ajax-driven. It uses push state Ajax. You have to reload your JavaScript on the new pages, and you also have some problems with inline validations in JavaScript if you have them. The last tool here is called movin, and movin is something specific because it's After Effects plugin, and it's for creating smooth animation because you're outputting them from the After Effects, and you have a bigger JSON output that you embed into your JavaScript, and it's used for this complex movement, but you can't use it a lot because you have a big JSON files, like 70 kilobytes for one animation, and who creates animations then? Well, it's the motion designers who are good with After Effects, and front-end developers don't have to do anything here. That's a good one. So, I have some more tips and tricks. For instance, keep your micro interactions consistent. Watch out for repaint and rendering performance. And also use transform will change opacity and properties like this to avoid possible frame rate issues. And inspire yourself before you code with some of those websites. Sorry. And follow me. And who wants to talk about animations or front-end in general, mail us here. So thanks. If you have...
So to clarify, if my company uses movin as a front-end developer, I never have to write an animation again. We can just make the designers do it. Is that right?
Yeah, but it's not like that. You have a movin library that it's used to import your JSON files, but those JSON files are pretty big, and you can't create an entire website with those types of animation because you will have to load JSON files around 70, 100 kilobytes, and it's not for really complex animation, just for smaller UI movement.
Other questions? They're not mine. Oh, all the way right in the middle. I don't know how I'll get there. Come to me.
Hey, my question is that as much as I love animation, I heard that some people have like vestibular disorders, which causes them pain when animation goes on. So I don't know if there's a way to make animation with those people in mind, or what do people do in this case in terms of accessibility?
Yeah, in terms of accessibility, you have to target your audience, I think, because when you create a website that's presentational and it has a lot of animations, you have to think about accessibility, but also you have to understand that you're not working for those people primarily. You're presenting a product to a majority of people. You can have a specific. One solution for this is to have like Google, like a Gmail has, load basic page where you just strip animations and you have a tiny button, tiny anchor up there. It's used sometimes on the tools that need support all users. So if user really can't use this website because of health issues or something like this, just clicks on this little button and it's just a basic version without all of this animated stuff. So it's one of the solutions and the most simplest one.
Other questions?
Hi, great
Hi.
talk.
Thanks.
I have a question regarding the body movin plugin. I'm interested, do you have to tell the designers to prepare the SVGs carefully or something? Do you need to have pre-preparation for the motion designers?
Okay, in most of the cases, no, because body moving is made to export After Effects. And After Effects is a tool that's pretty closed. It has its own rules, and the JSON that you generate is always the same. You can tell them about the length of the animation so that you don't get a JSON that's around 1 megabyte if the animation takes like 1 minute or 2. Those animations need to be simple, around 10 seconds, and you have a okay size JSON. And this is all you have to tell them, because it is not something that changes a lot. JSON is pretty much the same for every type of animation.
More questions? Okay. Oh, wait, there's one more. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
It was really great.
Thanks.
And I will be talking about something similar tomorrow. So this is
Glad I'm first, yeah.
yeah. So I just want to know something that people ask me a lot about animations is like with the body moving plugin, we are able to give our designers some creativity back. Something that we didn't have for a long time because Flash was unpopular.
Yeah.
So is there a tendency to go back making websites that are Flash-like, to make something like that on the web? And is that a good thing, or what do you think?
Okay, good question, yeah. I think the body moving is not the Flash of the modern age, because it's really not the tool to create the entire website in. You will have a lot of problems with it, and you will realize that you have to balance between this and classic animations through TwinMax or something. But I think the body moving is not so popular, and it's not used that much in current websites that we see, and that front-end developers also do the most of the animations today. Because with body moving, you can create smaller UI movement. You have an okay JSON output. But if you want to integrate it with BarbaraJS, you want to, between page transitions, and you want to regenerate that JSON on every page because it's push-state Ajax, you want to use it, for instance, with React or something like this, you have a lot of technical problems. So I think that body moving is not a threat to the modern web. It's just a sugar for the modern websites, yeah.
Do you think animations will continue to be a large part of the web, or do you think it will grow or shrink as we're moving to more mobile?
Animations are also used on mobile. This is not something that's desktop specific, especially if you have some elements that are made with Canvas or some tools that are supported very good on mobile devices. And I think animations are something that distinguish regular site from something more. If you add this flavor of animations, the sugar, yeah, to them, and you can create much more smoother experience for the user. And I think that your conversion rate and your user experience can benefit from it, even on mobile and on desktop.
Any other questions? Okay, we have one more talk after this. Thank you again, Mario.
Thank you.